Alrighty, now ever since Disney announced that they were going to be releasing a new mermaid with a black Ariel instead of a white one, you just knew they were going to be met with a ton of backlash, as they truly were. Now, majority of those backlash were headed towards Disney's way and never the artist's way, not Halle Bailey's way. However, Halle Bailey is now coming out to say that she faced racist backlash and she's addressing it. Halle Bailey opens up about the Little Mermaid racist backlash. As a black person, you just expect it. That's not a good way to be, in my own opinion. Now, the Hollywood Reporter actually covers a particular interview that she went through and gives us a summary about it that I want to react to, because there's a lot that I want to say regarding this. And I'm pretty hammered, so I'm going to say a lot about this, just to be forewarned. But in any case, you guys, as we go along, as I share my opinion, I will also be asking for yours in that comment section below. Now, without further ado, let's just jump straight into the video now, shall we?
Halle Bailey is opening up about the racist backlash she received when news broke that she was cast as Ariel in Disney's live-action adaptation of the...
So all this while that I've been reading about racist backlash, I read about 3 or 4 articles back in the past, like 4 or 5 months ago, when Vanity Fair and the rest of them were writing about this, and they were all presenting the exact same example amongst all the multitude. So 99.99999% of them were not racist backlash. They were actually directed towards Disney. They were things like graphics, right? The CGI was terrible, that it doesn't look like they're underwater. Take for instance, take a look at this. This is one of the criticisms. And look at that. Like, very terrible CGI. So these were the sort of criticisms they were getting. Also, the fact that Disney, this is a cash grab from them, is one of the things that people were complaining about, that they're sick of Disney remaking and destroying these old IPs that people love so much just to make a quick buck, and then woken it up so that when people don't like it, they can go ahead and blame people and push identity politics and say people hate black people or women and whatnot, like they usually do. That's the complaint that a lot of people were making, that they want to make the fans look like racists, but not really anybody directing any criticisms towards Halle Bailey, as far as I know.
The Little Mermaid. In a new cover story for The Face, Bailey said some of the negative reactions were not a surprise. As a black person, you just expect it, and it's not really a shock anymore. I know people are like, it's not about race, but now that I'm her, people don't understand that when you're...
It is not about race. It was never about race. The general idea behind this whole thing, like I said before, has been towards Disney and what Disney had been doing with their show. Had nothing to do with your race. Being a black person, because you're not the first black woman to play the role of a mermaid, even though that's what they're going to tell you guys. But I'm going to tell you guys right now, for 3 years, I watched a series called Siren, and there were a lot of black mermaids on that show, and people loved that show. That show had an 88% on Rotten Tomatoes audience score, or more than that, or something like that, something outrageous like that, you know, that people loved it. So don't come here trying to play that the fans are racist, because if 3.5 million fans don't like you, there are obviously a whole lot of black people amongst those fans that did not like the idea that they race swapped Ariel.
Black, there's this whole other community. It's so important for us to see ourselves.
See that? As soon as she said, as a black person, I knew what was going to follow is, I'm a victim of racism. Is this the end all be all for black people? Well, that's the end all be all for black people when Hollywood is involved, because this is what they think. This is how they perceive black people. Every time you watch a movie, check out all of the movies. Everybody else is well depicted as whatever race that they're from. However, when it comes to black people, even a superhero is depicted as a victim. Even a superhero like Falcon happened to be a victim so bad that he couldn't even get a loan to push his sister's business because he is black. Can you beat that? We're talking about Falcon, an ex-military person, somebody who was doing well. The storyline was written so well, but all of a sudden happens to be a victim of systemic racism. Only in Hollywood. This is what they want to push towards people, that we are all victims and that's our end all be all. This is why Idris got sick of identifying as a black actor and just wants to be identified as an actor.
She credits mentor Beyonce for offering sound advice to her and sister Chloe Bailey that she continues to lean on. When Chloe and I first signed to Parkwood, B was always like, I never read my comments. Don't ever read the comments. Honestly, when the teaser came out,
All right, so if you said you leaned on her advice, how did you know that you had racist backlash if you never read the comments? How did you know? If you're not paying attention to the comments, if you were actually listening to your mentor, you shouldn't have known that there were racist backlash. So there's some magical way that you just suddenly knew, or were you around reading the comments? You know, I don't know. But also, I thought that your mentor was Eric Vitro, the person that actually trained you on how to sing and develop your voice. And because that person is a straight white male, that's not a good narrative for you. So you've got to have that super well-known mentor in Beyonce now, don't you? Don't you? Because that's what actually follows the line. Black people should only be inspired by black people. It's only special to black people when we see each other on the screen. If that was how Sidney Poitier thought, the late great Sidney Poitier who died last year, if that was how he thought, he would have never been inspired by Willard, who happened to be a white man who was his own mentor. People like Justin Timberlake would have never been inspired by Michael Jackson, who's a black man inspiring a white person. Michael Jai White and Wesley Snipes would have never been inspired by Brazilians and Asians who taught them capoeira and martial arts to be able to fight, as well as white people as well who taught them martial arts. They would have never been inspired by those, and they would have never gotten their acting roles today. So this narrative is just bonkers, in my opinion. It's absolute bonkers.
I was at the D23 Expo, and I was so happy I didn't see any of the negativity. When The Hollywood Reporter caught up with Bailey last year at the D23 event, she relayed the most magical part of the experience for her.
And the fact that I get to kind of represent all of these little young black and brown boys.
I'm sorry, you're not representing anybody. You're representing yourself. Like I said, you're not the first person to play this role. You're not the first person to play a mermaid who's black. Go check out Siren. You're not the first person. You're not representing anybody but yourself. The money goes to your pocket. The fame goes to you. It's not going to black people because you're not doing anything special that other black people haven't done before you. I actually watched an interview where she was like, I'm so happy to be part of this movement. What the bloody hell movement? What movement? You work for Hollywood. You're not doing anything for black people. I'm sorry. I'm just sorry to say, but that's the reality. Aren't we done with being victims? If we're not done today with being victims, when are we going to be done with being victims? I'm sick of it. I'm absolutely sick of it.
Boys and girls who are to come is really special to me because I know that if I had that when I was younger, it would have changed my whole perspective on life.
Bailey.
Change your whole perspective to what? You said you love this as a kid. It inspired you to do a whole lot of things. You said that in a different interview, didn't you? This is what you said about them. You said that in this when I covered you a couple of months back.
The animated version has always been so special to me since I was so small. I mean, it's the reason I would swim. I would be in the pool feeling like I am the animated version of her. And
Ariel was white. It was special to you. So why does it need to be black now to be special to other people that they need to see it? Did you need to see it? Somebody make it make sense.
Also tells the mag that she was flooded with texts from friends and family who were sending her all of the reaction videos on social media after the teaser debuted.
Okay, yeah, those bloody reaction videos that were just staged, you know, just for the sake of marketing this. Look, let me just tell you now, Disney, I'm sick of Disney using these black and so-called brown people and people of color to push their identity politics. It's just another excuse for them to push another woke cash grab because they have lazy writers. They've been hiring writers who happens to be activists rather than actually hiring writers that will tell good stories and new stories. They don't want to bank on new stories, so they want to keep repeating the old ones, but telling you that we're now using a black actor, meaning that we are renewing it, we are reimagining it. This is what Disney does, and I wouldn't be so surprised if they actually put this girl up to it. But this, to me, is absolutely sickening. And honestly speaking, I will not be surprised if this movie bomb at the box office, and if it seriously does, I will laugh, because that will serve them right for trying to push identity politics, woke agenda, and the likes, instead of actually giving us good storytelling and good entertainment and escapism.